Welcome back to Novel Writing 101, the 21-week course where I teach you how to write the first draft of your novel. It's week 7, and today I'm going to be giving you 2 pieces of advice for writing your first draft. Ready? Let's get started. So we're officially 7 weeks into the course and 3 weeks into Section B, Writing and Execution. At this point, you should have a fairly good start to your rough draft, and depending on what your writing goals are that you set in your personal contract, you'll likely have some chapters written by now. So my advice for you today is 2 parts that kind of commingle. These pieces of advice are be open to change and discovery writing. Now, being open to change is a really important part of the writing process because just because you think you have it figured out doesn't mean that's where the story's going to go. For an example, there's a thing writers joke about where they say, oh, I don't know what happened, I was writing this chapter and all of a sudden the characters took control. This means that they had a solid plan of what needed to happen and all of a sudden they were writing and then this started happening and this started happening and their brain started taking the story in a new direction where it seemed like the characters were just running amok and just deciding where the story was going to go on their own terms. Now, this might happen to you more often than you think because you could sit at your laptop and have your outline done or a really solid idea of where the story needs to go. But when you start writing it, you could have a little spark of inspiration, that stroke of creative genius, where all of a sudden your subconscious mind is like, okay, the story's going this way. And all of a sudden you just start writing it and you're like, okay, we're deviating a lot here. But then you kind of just keep going with it and all of a sudden it works out better than your original plan. It's really important to embrace and lean into these moments because that's where your true creative genius can be found sometimes. Now we're going to go over and talk about discovery writing, which ties really well in this idea of being open to change. Now, discovery writing is discovering the story as you're going. If you're a pantser or you really don't like outlines and structure, this is probably what you're going to be relying on a lot. You might sit down at your laptop and have no idea where the chapter's going, just that somewhere far off in the distance, this character needs to have this moment. So you sit down and you just let the words pour out. This is going to give you lots of time to be open to change because there is no set structure. So you're going to be writing and things might change on the fly, or you'll have one idea 1 minute and then it'll transition to this, and you just keep going until you flush the story out. Now, if you're a plotter, you might think the idea of discovery writing sounds horrifying. You might think, I want a structure. I want to know exactly where I'm going. I want a roadmap of where the story is ending up. However, whether you're a pantser or a plotter, I want you to realize that discovery writing has its merit. Again, like being open to change, it can allow for these moments of creative genius and sparks of inspiration that enhance the story or take it in a new, interesting direction. Now, while you by no means have to embrace discovery writing as your whole strategy for your first draft, it is good to be, again, open to the change of letting things flow in the moment. So, that's my advice for you this week. Again, really short and sweet with these lectures, but I want you to don't be so caught up in where you said the story was going. If you have a spark in one moment and you're like, okay, what if I did this instead? It can be stressful at times to be writing and think, what the fuck are my characters doing? This is not what we planned. What's going on? But it can also lead to some really cool moments and changes in the story. So that's it. Be open to change, learn to embrace discovery writing, and keep plodding along with your first draft. I'll see you guys next time, and happy writing.